Welcome to EY.AI Unplugged Season 2 AI Agents of Impact. I'm Pallavi, your host for today. In today's episode, we're joined by Sunil Venkatesan, partner of technology consulting at EY India, and together we will unpack how global capability centers for GCCs are evolving from cost focused delivery hubs into AI native engines of innovation, intelligence, and strategic decision making. We'll also explore what it truly means to adopt an AI first operating model, how organizations can responsibly scale autonomous agents, and how leadership teams can navigate the balance between the innovation, control, and trust in increasing autonomous enterprise environment. Hi, Sunil. Welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here. So, to begin with, Sunil, could you help us let us know that what GCCs began as a cost efficiency centers, how is Agentic AI transforming them into AI native intelligence and decision making hubs for enterprises?
Thanks, Pallavi, for having me. So I think, the biggest shift is that GCCs are moving from being places where work gets done cheaper to becoming places where the enterprise learns how work should be done differently. Historically, GCC started out as cost arbitrage hubs. Then they became global business services platforms. And then finally, they've become innovation or tech hubs. I think agentic AI kind of takes them into a fourth phase where AI is not just a tool that is sitting on top of existing processes, it becomes the execution layer of the enterprise. And this is very different, right? Traditional automation says, let me make this more efficient or let me make this task faster. Agentic AI says, let me understand the objective, plan the steps, and call the right systems, resolve exceptions, and escalate only when needed. So instead of a person moving work from one system to another, an AI agent can orchestrate workflows across finance, supply chain, HR, compliance, and technology. And in that sense, GCCs are uniquely positioned because they already have scale, they have process knowledge, they have enterprise data access, they have governance maturity, and of course, they have engineering depth. That combination is very rare in enterprises. And a business unit may understand its own processes, but a GCC often is able to see an enterprise horizontally. So, in simple terms, old GCCs helped enterprises save money. New GCCs will help enterprises think, decide, and act faster, which is a slightly better job description than please do this cheaper.
Thank you, Sunil. So to be the next question is how does the AI operating model look like in practice and how are autonomous AI agents reshaping enterprise workflows and governance?
So, an AI first operating model does not just mean, sprinkling AI on top of every process and hoping some sort of magic will happen. It's more like putting a it's more like putting a spoiler on a bullock cart, right? It may look modern, but it will not transform your performance. In practice, AI first means you redesign the process around what AI agents can do natively. The workflow moves from linear handoffs to event driven orchestration. Instead of the work waiting for the next person, the system continuously ingests data, detects exceptions, makes recommendations or decisions within guardrails, and triggers the next action. Let's take finance as an example, right? In the traditional model, teams wait for period end data, then they reconcile accounts, case exceptions, prepare reports, and escalate issues. In an AI first model, a finance close agent continuously ingests ledger data, detects anomalies in real time, performs reconciliations, prepares drafts, and surfaces only the exceptions that truly require human judgment. Same applies to supply chain. Instead of weekly planning cycles, agents can read demand signals, check inventory, understand lead times, coordinate with logistics systems, and recalibrate plans continuously. The rhythm changes from batch and review to sense and respond. Governance also changes. You cannot govern autonomous agents the same way you govern a spreadsheet macro. You need explainability, audit trails, access controls, human override, and model monitoring. The operating model has two sides: more autonomy in execution, but more discipline in governance. And I think, what would best describe this is AI first is not about removing humans from the loop. It is about moving humans to the right part of the loop, from repetitive execution to judgment, supervision, and accountability.
Thank you, Sunil. Now, as organizations scale agentic AI, how should leaders balance innovation with risks around accountability, oversight, and human in the loop for decision making?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think leaders need to avoid two extremes. One extreme is, let 1,000 agents bloom, which sounds very innovative until one of them wires money to the wrong vendor or sends a regulatory filing to the wrong regulator. The other extreme is to wrap every AI use case in so much approval that innovation dies very quietly. The right balance is controlled autonomy. And that starts with classifying decisions. Not every decision needs the same level of human oversight. Low risk, reversible, high volume actions can be highly automated. But decisions with material financial, regulatory, customer, employee, or reputational consequence need human in the loop or human on the loop governance. I'd like to give you a good example for this. Think if you are riding a horse, right? And the horse is you are taking the horse on a road. There are some times when the horse is the right person to make the decision. And there are other times when the road is narrow, or there is some obstacle in front, where the rider is the right person to make the decision. And the agent is, in this sense, an analogous to the horse. We have to think about where the agent should be allowed to make decisions and where the human should take over and make the decision. So, in my view, leaders need to think about innovating very aggressively, but also think about architecting responsibly. Give agents room to operate, but put them inside a well lit room with cameras, guardrails, and everyone knows where the off switch is.
Thank you, Sunil. Now, how will the rise of agentic AI redefine talent strategies inside GCCs from workforce skills and organizational structures to new AI orchestration roles?
So Pallavi, like me, I'm sure you have also read all the newspaper headlines about AI will make jobs disappear. And I think that is the least imaginative version of the conversation. The more important question is what new work becomes possible when people are no longer trapped in repetitive process execution. Inside the GCC, the workforce model will shift from doing manual work to designing, supervising, improving, and governing how AI agents do the work. That requires a very different skill mix. We will see roles like AI workflow architect who redesign processes for agentic orchestration, agent designers and prompt engineers who configure how agents reason, interact with tools, and respond to exceptions, agent performance supervisors who monitor live deployment and manage exception queues, and responsible AI governance leads who will ensure agents operate with ethical, regulatory, and enterprise risk boundaries. And these are just a few of the job titles that will get created, right? The broader workforce will need AI literacy. Finance professionals will need to understand how reconciliation agents will work, right? Supply chain planners will need to understand how demand sensing agents will work. And risk teams will need to understand model behavior, not just policy documents. So I think, organizationally, GCCs will become more cross functional. The old model separated by process, technology, analytics, and risk that will change. And the agentic AI workforce, will force you to group those work into what I would call, at an intersection where the agent sits on top of the process logic, data, systems, controls, and user experience. The smart GCCs will be the ones that will redeploy productivity gains into higher value work, right? Because frankly, removing all the people who understand the process and then asking AI to improve the process is like firing a chef and asking the oven to redesign the menu. That's not going to happen.
Thank you, Sunil. Now, lastly, looking ahead, what will differentiate the next generation of high impact GCCs from the traditional delivery centers in an increasingly autonomous enterprise landscape?
Yeah, I think, this goes back to the first point that we made, right? Which is that the next generation high impact GCCs will be differentiated by one big thing. They will not just run processes, they will own the intelligence architecture behind those processes. Traditional delivery centers are measured on cost, throughput, service levels, and efficiency. Those metrics still matter, but they will not be enough. High impact GCCs will be measured on decision velocity, enterprise resilience, and quality of AI governance, speed of scaling reusable agentic capabilities, and their ability to create value beyond efficiency. The differentiators will include four things. First of all, an agentic AI native talent and culture, people who can work with AI systems, challenge them, supervise them, and improve them. Second is some sort of a platform architecture, which is modular, API first, and allows interoperable systems of agents to work together. Third, of course, is governance by design, where we need to have auditability, explainability, risk controls, and humans oversight built into the workflow, not as some sort of afterthought. And fourth is, operating model redesign, right? Moving from hierarchy and handoffs to real-time orchestration and continuous optimization. So the future GCC will not be a back office or even an innovation hub. It'll be closer to, some sort of an autonomous intelligence center, a place where human expertise and agents work together to help the enterprise sense faster, decide smarter, and execute with more confidence.
Thank you, Sunil. Now, that brings us to the end of this episode of EY.AI Unplugged Season 2 AI Agents of Impact. A special thank you to you once again for joining us and sharing all your insightful perspectives. Thank you. And to all our listeners, if you've joined this episode, do follow the series for more conversations with experts who are shaping the future of AI driven impact. Thank you for listening. Until next time, this is Pallavi signing off.